How you feeling afterward?
I feel great. I felt better on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Day 2, I felt absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
Had a terrible headache day 2, probably one of the worst I've had. But then after that, it was like almost euphoric. So,
Mm-hmm.
and they say that happens that the more times you do extended fast, the better you feel on each one.
Okay.
Your body gets used to it. It hits ketosis faster.
Mm-hmm.
It's not in like shock as much, so
And
we're
this
doing
is
this
36, right? 30. Is this 36 hour? Or
No, we did 6 days.
oh, dang. Okay.
Yeah, Tamara did 7 days, I did 6 days.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's crazy.
so we're doing that once a quarter.
Okay. Once a quarter, but then the one you do every week is a 30
24 to 36.
20. Okay.
Last few times it's been 24.
Okay.
But yeah, 24 to 36.
Hmm.
And then 16-8 during the day, like on most days.
Right.
So far, that means we're what, April 8th? And that means April 8th, we are, 12, 18. I think I added up. It's like 23 days of fasting so far this year. If you add up the single days and then the weeks.
Rebuilding those cells, huh?
Yep. Stem cell technology, stem cell therapy, free.
That's right. You don't need any injections or anything like that. You just just kind of cut out everything except water. Right?
Yep. We did a little bit different this time, but yeah, it's down to basically 0 calories, maybe 25. We're playing around with some like modifications on the fasting.
Yeah.
So we did like some greens powder drinks the second half of the fast, and that seemed to help a little bit too. So
yeah,
because you got to keep your electrolytes and things like that up. So we did electrolytes and we did the greens, and I think that helped. So
cool.
All right, let's roll.
We're live now, so people are hearing all about your.
I know.
All right,
talk more about it at the end if anybody wants to stick around and listen. But
yeah, okay.
Let's roll.
All right, let's go 3, 2, and 1. Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean, today we are going to be discussing a very interesting, maybe a little controversial in terms of book reading, where there's some takeaways from it. And we're going to be talking about mass movements, how mass movements are created, and how to create your own following in a mass movement. What are the secret ingredients?
Yeah, and this is, I'll tell you, this book it's dense. Like there's a lot going on, but I don't know, it might take 2 highlighters to get through this book. Like there's so much like good stuff and insights, not just if you're building a mass movement, but just to understand what's being done around you and to you.
Yep.
Like it really helps you be more aware of how these movements are created, the fertile soil that needs to be there for them to happen.
Right, because they don't just happen. There's things that have to be planted for these things to really take off.
Yeah, there needs to be a certain environment for them to really take off, which there kind of always is.
Sure,
right?
You just got to tap into the right one.
Yeah, you got to know which one and kind of the height of it.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll talk about, and it was more. We'll talk about it in a minute, but yeah. We'll go into some deep stuff. I mean, we could probably spend, days. I'm sure there's classes in college on this, but I didn't make it that far in college before I dropped out. Before I was, academic.
Well, they don't teach this stuff. I don't think they teach this stuff anymore in college. I mean,
you sure?
Honestly,
I mean, looks like
I don't know.
Stuff
surface level.
I think you'd have to be in like a senior class probably to see stuff to really get into something like this, but I could see this taking an entire semester to go through for sure.
Well, yeah, something like this is very relevant to today. So I could see certainly,
it's always been relevant. I mean, it's
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
it's
mean,
timeless. I mean, when was this written? What did we decide? It was
1940.
yeah, so after World War II,
So 40.
1961.
Oh, 61. Okay.
Yeah.
19, yeah. Okay. Oh, 1951 is the
Okay.
original.
Yeah, 51's the original.
51's the original. So,
So
but
after
yeah,
World War II.
it is good stuff, man.
Yeah.
It is something that will just like start to wow you when you kind of think about everything that's going on today, but
Yeah.
also how you can apply this in business in
Yeah.
terms of creating followings. What do you need to tap into
If you want to
in
start
order
your
to
own
create
mega
that?
church,
Hmm. Yeah.
you need these things, like
Dane
whatever you want
Kennedy
to do.
talked about this book. So he mentioned this a few weeks ago, going through some of this stuff. And then you start to look at, some of the mega, like you just mentioned, mega churches like Rick Warren. He's got the book Purpose Driven Church,
Yeah.
and he like gives like who they're after, I
Mhm.
mean, down to, they know who their target market is, and I mean, you call this church marketing, but they know exactly, they can name and they can picture and they can tell you exactly who their target market is when they're
Yeah.
trying to build a following in their churches.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No doubt.
and
So,
so you just got to know who the person is, who your target market, message to market first,
yep.
and then what's agitating those people. And we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. And I think this framework helps you. If you've ever struggled with like who, I think this will help.
Yeah,
Right. Because
absolutely.
we've all heard over and over and over, myself included, about you got to get the who right, who you're targeting, know your
Yeah.
avatar. Um, and I think sometimes we worry too much about the super minute details, but this will allow you to kind of pick a group
Hmm.
of people.
Yeah.
Because if you want to build a true mass movement,
Hmm.
it's going to be pretty big group that's going to cross a lot of avatar types.
Sure.
So we'll talk about that.
And
Before
we'll be talking about some examples because there's
yeah,
a lot of examples. In fact, a lot of examples we can use today
yeah,
in politics, and not even just politics, but politics is one of those things that always comes to the surface when you're talking about stuff like this.
and then I've got a couple of goodies at the end of the show that we'll talk about. So I
Oh,
got a really cool direct mail package. I think it's because I'm getting old. So I'm starting to get the really good direct mail. And
right.
then I got this little gem of a thing showed up on my doorstep.
Okay. Just
Um,
showed up, right? You
yeah, it just showed up. Well, I
just
did
showed
order
up.
it, but it was actually a result of something I ordered.
Oh, okay.
I
All
knew I
right.
was getting something, but I didn't know what it would be.
And
So
I don't even know it because Sean wouldn't
yeah,
tell me yesterday.
yeah.
So he's a keep it all
I had to, ma- I
secret,
had to,
trying to be
I had to make sure you tuned in.
suspenseful. Of course.
Yeah.
All
All right. So
right.
what are you drinking over there? Because for those listening, I just came off of a 6-day fast, so I'm still in the process of refeeding and breaking my fast. So I'm
Mhm.
not having beer, but I did bring a beverage of sorts today.
Yep.
But Jonathan, I'll let you start because I think
Okay. Yeah. This is the last of our series that we had. It is a from Masthead Brewing Company. I think you had this one.
yeah, I had it 3 or 4 weeks ago, probably episodes
Yeah.
ago.
Yep. Single original coffee stout, 1 pint. I'm not sure why I didn't have this the same time you had yours. I don't remember, but
I think you just grabbed
anyway,
the wrong one.
yeah, I
But
guess so. I guess so because I just grab them out of the pantry, bring them over to the office, throw them in the fridge. So I think I grabbed the wrong one that day, and I don't even remember what your rating was. I
I don't
think it
either.
was pretty solid, but I'm not going to let that affect me because I don't care
Yeah.
what your rating is. I'm my own person. I got my own palate, and I'm
Uh,
just
so you think
yeah,
you've already
that's what
been
I want to.
persuaded.
Exactly. But yeah, I'm going to give it a try, and it is. We don't need to give all the details because you've already told everybody about it previously. But
Yeah.
what is that? What did you say?
Six
Did you
point
have
nine
that one up?
percent. Yeah, 6.9%.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Um, so
Says we partnered with our friend. You probably already read this at Six Shooter Coffee Company to bring you this mashup of two favorite beverages: the lightly roasted Ethiopian Guji coffee beans.
oh yeah, I
And
remember
this
that
beer
description.
brings flavors and aromas of berry and cocoa.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So on my end, so every time we do a fast, an extended fast anyway, we break our fast with a garlic and ginger soup. It's got garlic and ginger, obviously, but then it's also got mushrooms, carrots, broccoli, and I think it's in like a chicken broth base. I don't make it, Tamara does.
So what
I
does
think that's right.
what does where does the garlic and the ginger do? Is there a reason for that?
The original recipe is actually like a flu fighting soup is where we found it. We just knew we needed something fairly mild. So when you break your fast after, extended fast more than 3 or 4 days, you can only do fruits and vegetables the first day. So we knew we just need, and broth is good. So you just want something that's kind of mild and lots of nutrients to replenish your system and all that. So this is what mine looks like. Doesn't look good at all. I put it in a Tervis tumbler just so everybody could see it.
Ugh.
So normally it doesn't look like this. It looks like a vegetable soup, but I blended it for the show so that I could put it in a cup and still have something to drink. So
looks disgusting.
Yeah. But it's actually, this is going to make it sound even worse. It tastes like a warm smoothie instead of a cold green smoothie. It tastes more like a warm smoothie. It's closer to a split pea soup if you like that. If you don't, it makes it even worse. But hey.
You're not helping.
I know. It's like I'm not selling this very well.
You're not.
The soup looks great on the stove in the bowl.
Yeah.
But as soon as you blend it, it looks pretty rough. So.
All right.
Well, cheers.
Well, bottoms up. Cheers.
Thick. You don't need a piece of paper. You can just tell me.
No, yeah. I mean, this is good.
All right. Mine's good too. All right. I'll give mine a rating.
All right. I'll let you go.
All right. So for the ginger and garlic flu fighting soup, I give this a 5.
Whoa.
We use this every time we break our fast.
That's amazing.
Could be because I haven't eaten much in the last 6 days, but I broke mine last night, so I've had some fruit already. But no, I love the soup. It tastes really, really good. All right, so what's your score over there for the single origin coffee stout?
I'm going to give this a I'm going to go 4.8.
That's not bad.
No, it's good. It's really good.
That's pretty stout.
It's very stout. And I love the
score.
You can definitely taste the cocoa. It's not too sweet. It's got a really smooth aftertaste. And I mean, it's
I would get this one again for sure.
Yeah, for sure. This is probably ranks up there with one of the best ones out of that whole series.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that'd be a good one to keep like stocked in the fridge, for the days or evenings when you want a stout.
Yeah,
because it's not too heavy.
Where are they based out of? Oh, it's Cleveland. Cleveland.
Most of these were out of Cleveland.
Okay. Cleveland rocks. All right.
That's what Drew was. What's his name? Drew. I was about to say Drew Barrymore. That's not right.
Drew. I know. Family Feud guy.
Price is Right guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I thought he did both the Price is Right and Family Feud for a period of time.
Did he feud for a while before Steve Harvey took over?
Yeah, I think so. Drew Carey, right?
Carey.
There we go.
Whose line is it anyway?
Yep.
Drew Carey Show.
Yep.
Drew Carey Show is where they said Cleveland rocks. So. All right. So for all of you, we've lost all our viewers on the live now. So we can go ahead and get started.
Now we can delve into the content.
We've separated the wheat from the chaff. We can now get into the content.
All right. The book that we were referencing earlier, again, True Believer. Mass movements, how mass movements are made.
So mine says thoughts on the nature of mass movements.
Thoughts on the nature of mass movements. Here's a little excerpt from the back of the book. Chaos is his element. When old order begins to crack, the fanatic wades in with all of his might and recklessness to blow the whole hatred present to high heaven. He glories in the sight of a world coming to a sudden end.
Wow, that sounds deep.
Opportunity. So Yeah, so there's a lot of things to tie into this. I wrote down some notes on some of my five biggest takeaways from this book,
Okay.
and I wrote them down. So we can just go in. I mean, we can just kind of go in any particular order. Um,
Yeah. So I want to start with chapter 1
yeah.
and just kind of the conditions and environment that are kind of need to be present
Hmm.
for the people that you want to join a mass movement, or for any mass movement to take hold if you're not into creating mass movements yourself. When I was reading this too, I was reminded of Frank Kern and his mass control
Absolutely.
series, which
Hmm.
I have right behind me.
Hmm.
I wonder if that's where he got a lot of this stuff. It's probably where the name came from.
Possibly. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, I thought this was really interesting. And when I read the first sentence of the book, so the very first sentence of the book says, "It is a truism that many who join a rising revolutionary movement are attracted by the prospect of sudden and spectacular change in their conditions of life."
Mm,
I
yeah.
was like, well, that's the whole book right there. I don't know if I need to read any more or not.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing, right? People are looking for spectacular change
Right.
in order to create this mass movement. That's what's required, and that movement becomes the instrument of change that they're looking for.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
the one that I kept thinking of, and I'll mention this several times throughout as we talk about the different points, is um, he talks a lot, obviously, because they just came out of World War II. So he talks a lot about kind of the Nazi empire. He talks a lot
Hmm.
about communism and nationalism and all these things.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, Jonathan, there's a lot of stuff going on today that is not that big, but
Hmm.
we do have these movements going on.
Yeah.
But one that came to mind for me was the civil rights movement of the 60s, and how, that was this need or want for this sudden drastic change.
Hmm.
But then beyond that, so like, what are the conditions of that? And there's four things that he says are needed for the kind of the environment and the stage to be set for this change and to create the mass movement. And the first one, and if this is one of your 5 points, jump in.
Yeah.
But number one was discontent. Like,
Hmm.
we kind of like, I think as salespeople and copywriters and marketers, we kind of know that makes sense, right? That's why we always start with the pain, we agitate and all that. So that was not super surprising, that there
Yeah.
would needs to be some discontent. I know that's true in my own life. You know, that's when I look for change, is when the discontent is there. But then he started to add in and layer in three other things. And the next one was, there had to be access to potential power.
Hmm.
That people who join a mass movement are looking for some type of access to potential power in their lives,
Sure.
because they feel powerless.
Yep.
So it's not just discontentment. There needs to also be a little bit of powerlessness
Hmm.
in there, and they're going to cling on to whatever's going to offer that power.
Yeah.
And then the third thing, and this is, I think, where a lot of marketers miss the boat and why they don't become mass movements, and that is, there has to be extravagant hope.
Mm. Yeah.
There has to be this like new future that is worth fighting for, worth dying for. And that, I think that we talk all the time about problem, agitate, solution, right? And the solution technically is the hope, but I don't think we do a good enough job. And this is one thing I remember Clayton Makepeace talking about. He's like, you got to get into the hope, and then
Absolutely.
not enough people got it, I think, get into the hope. And that's the difference between some of the things that I was thinking of. So the Occupy Wall Street, and we've talked about this before. The reason Occupy Wall Street, what was that, 10, 15, 20 years
Yeah.
ago?
Completely. Yeah. It was a huge
Huge
mass movement for a while, but
for like
it
a month, right?
fizzled. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was
Fizzled out.
all about discontent,
Hmm.
but there was no access to power,
Hmm.
and there was no hope. Like, what are we going for instead? Like, what are you going to replace all this with, right?
Right. Yep.
So it was lacking at least two of the elements.
Hmm.
Um, the fourth element is also very interesting, and this is, I think, more for the for the leaders and the key people who want to partake in it, and that is ignorant of the challenge ahead of them.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to have a mass movement where people are fired up and they want this change and they're, discontent, and they're going to have to be a little bit ignorant about what it's going to take, because in other words, you need to be a little bit delusional about how hard it's going to be. Or otherwise you wouldn't sign up. Like if you actually knew what it was going to take, you're probably not going to sign up.
Right.
And that's true for the leader as well. Like,
yeah, the ability to simplify, the solution
yeah,
to a level where it's not, you don't see all the details that go into it. And it always makes me think of, those simple taglines like, build a wall and,
yeah,
those things like that. They resonate to the, talked about that book, that we went through called Thinking Fast and Slow, but
yeah,
the more reptilian part of our brain that's always looks for simple solutions, I guess.
yeah. Build a wall is a great example. It's like, yeah, let's do that. And then it's like,
Well,
there's a lot involved in this, actually, especially seeing it all the way through,
right, exactly.
But that was only one part of the bigger mass movement, which was the Make America Great Again.
Right, exactly.
Which, if you look at that, checked all the boxes.
Yeah, it had the hope, obviously
Right. Had the
hope
discontent.
factor.
Yeah, had the discontent. Access to potential power. Like if America's great again, then you're going to be more free to build businesses, do all the things you want to do. So that's the access to power. Extravagant hope that America will be better. And it's interesting because if you ask someone on the opposite side, they thought that Make America Great again meant taking things backwards, not forwards.
Yeah. Right.
They thought it was like going back to the
50s or the 30s or something like
or
that.
Wherever, 1700s, depending on who you talk to. So, but what made the movement work on that side was, the hope for a better future, better business, better, lower taxes, all the different things.
Yep.
And then anything that's that big of a promise, the majority of the people in that movement are definitely ignorant of the challenge of what's actually required to make that happen.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not just getting a new president, it's getting new House representatives, new Senate representatives.
Yep.
Grassroots, governors, like all the way down the system. If you really wanted to create that change, it would require a full-on thing. And I think that is what got realized after Trump lost. It's like, oh, what we really need is a grassroots movement. And a lot of that group has now shifted, and they're not as loud out front, but they've now the mass movement has kind of gone grassroots to try to build from the bottom up.
Sure.
So, and I think, I think anybody who listens to the show knows which side Jonathan and I are on. So,
but we also can recognize, both sides, even I think about, during Obama's presidency, his campaign was brilliant because it was all about hope and change, so it wasn't just beating on the problems, but also, talking about hope and change, inspiring people, that was like part of his, you can still see all the posters with the hope,
Yeah. I mean, no need to sugarcoat or hide it, right? Just say hope.
Yeah, that's right. Hope
and change.
So
that's kind of that was chapter 1. That was kind of the, laying the groundwork for the rest of the book, which I thought had some points that I'd kind of overlooked and made a lot of sense to me. So I'll let you pick it up from there and kind of go over the rest of your points.
Yeah. So one of the things I had down in my notes is strong mass movements build unity by replacing individuality with a commitment to something greater than themselves.
Yes.
So, you always take the individual out of the equation. Yep. And that's, you think about all big movements, it's all about the movement. And the individual is less, it's less focus on the individual and more about doing your part in the movement. And you can work that in both ways. I tend to think of that more on kind of the side of things where we're pushed into, pushed in ways that I don't want to go.
Yeah.
But you think about, like, I think about, like, during the pandemic, and we've harped on this, flatten the curve and do your
Yeah.
part, stay home and stay safe. And all those messages resonated, and they were all about going beyond,
Yeah, they're very noble,
noble
right?
causes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
I
if
mean,
you
do your
feel
part.
and if you feel out of control, which we all did to some extent, especially in the beginning, that's why everybody adopted it in the beginning,
We did.
you know?
Absolutely. I mean,
Um,
great tagline too. I mean, you're like, flatten the curve,
yeah.
doing my part,
Well,
and
we had Dr. Michelle Mazer on around that time, and
yep.
we were talking about that tagline and how strong it was. As she
Yeah.
did the 3-Word Rebellion
Hmm.
book. So,
Yep.
yeah, so that was a great example. And this sentence, I think, is a good example from the book, kind of takes that home. It says, "The less justified a man is in claiming excellence for his own self, the more ready he is to claim all excellence for his nation, his religion, his race, or his holy
Sure.
cause."
Yep.
So that's why you see a lot of these movements attracting, a lot of times there'll be people with lower self-esteem or unemployed or,
Hmm.
you know, um, people who have just, kind of lost hope.
Hmm.
Now they're like, well, can't do it for me. Then to compensate for that empty feeling,
Sure.
they're like, oh, let me go save the world.
Yep.
Right. Because then
Exactly.
maybe I'll feel good about myself if I can save the
Hmm.
world. And that's what you just said. Like, you know, wear a mask. It's not about you, it's about everybody else.
Hmm.
Right. And
Yeah. And I tell you, the environmental movement, or on that side of that, I mean, they've done a brilliant job of, like, really marketing the whole idea of, like, protecting, the future of the planet,
yeah.
and thinking and doing your part, right? Doing
Right.
your small part. Like, your small part adds up, but it's all about the big picture, so
Yeah.
whatever you can do to do your part to
Yeah. It's like,
improve the world.
yeah, it is. It's good messaging.
Yeah.
And um, on the whole, it's good. And then, why wouldn't
It's
you? Why wouldn't you
Yeah.
take care of the planet? Like you should.
Sure.
And I think you
Absolutely.
should. Um,
No, I mean, we do, like,
I think some of the
um
tactics are not correct, but I do agree that,
exactly.
especially if you can remember, well, we were young, Jonathan, but the 70s, everything was still dirty. Cars were spitting out black smoke everywhere,
Hmm.
litter all over the roads. Like, we've come a long way. Like,
Oh
we've made a
yeah,
lot of
man.
progress, and a lot of times I think people forget that, especially people who maybe grew up in the 80s and 90s once that stuff had started turning the corner. But I
Mm.
remember one time Chattanooga, Tennessee was like dirtiest city in the country.
Oh yeah.
And now
Yeah.
it's regularly
Really
voted one of
cleans.
the nicest outdoor cities in the
Hmm.
country. So, a big change. I think it was 70, 71 when Chattanooga got that vote, and
Hmm.
it pissed off all the city leaders, and they really cleaned everything up. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So what else you got? So not about the self. It's got to be bigger than the self, which makes
Yeah.
sense.
And another thing, I mean, you remind me, like, some of the images that were used to kind of persuade people back in the day. I cringe. I can't even put a aluminum can in the trash anymore, because we got the
Yeah.
recycling can. But I still have images, of landfills. You think
Yeah.
about that, filling up landfills with cans, and um, all sorts of stuff like that. And those are good marketing images. Like,
Well, I
is that
could,
what you want to be doing? Is, like,
well,
filling
I
up
could tell you that
landfills
would,
with plastic and stuff like
yeah.
that?
I mean, and I'd heard a lot about, I think they could do even more of that, to be honest.
Hmm.
Like, so I'd heard a lot about, plastic in the ocean and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay. But most of the times I've been to the beach, I didn't really see any of that. Right.
Yeah.
On
Right.
at least on our beaches. I know there's certain like places current take stuff and it's worse than others. But last year when we were at the beach, there was a really, pretty strong storm that came in overnight, and we went out the next morning, and there was trash everywhere, washed up, all just a row where the tide came in.
Hmm.
I mean, I bet hundreds. We walked like a mile, and I bet there was probably hundreds of bags worth of trash that could have been
Hmm.
picked up.
Right.
um, and that would have been a great image to take,
Sure.
you know. But yeah, to clean up and make it about bigger than yourself is the
Yeah.
key takeaway. I think the Smokey the Bear campaigns, those
Hmm.
were like that too, right?
Yep.
It only
Exactly.
it only takes one or something like that.
Yep.
Um,
And I think in a broad sense, people are like, okay, so let's apply this. How can we apply this in business? And you think of like, think of the people who've done a masterful job talking about like, especially, I think about guys like, Brendan Bouchard, who creates movements
mhm,
on, people who want to, break away from, just doing a 9 to 5 or,
right?
being stuck in uh, a job that you hate or not being able to pay your light bills or pay the everyday bills and
Yeah.
just kind of getting by and just kind of like not really
Well, his
fulfilling your purpose out there.
I mean, what really put him on the map, I think, was Experts Academy,
Hmm.
and that was very much what you're right. That's very much what that was about. It's like, yeah, it's about you, but it's about all the people you could inspire as an expert.
Sure.
So it made it bigger than you. And then
Yeah.
Experts Academy for 3 or 4 or 5 years was like
Huge.
the internet marketing thing you wanted to go to and course you wanted to buy and all that stuff. Um,
I went to 2 of those events, and I'm telling you, he can inspire a room. I
yeah,
mean, there are people there are people dancing and jumping up and down, and I mean, the guy knows how to work a room in
yeah,
terms of just like everything that you need to like the music. I mean, everything's obviously
yeah,
designed
choreographed
for a
and
purpose,
yeah,
and yeah, down to the very music that they play at the beginning,
yeah.
to get people like going. It's
Well,
like,
another example of this is Apple. In their first the 1984 ad.
hmm,
Where they show people, you know, in behind the black
yep,
and white images, and then it's
right,
like, no, if you're a creator, if you're this, if the misfits, the blah blah blah, like that iconic ad is
hmm,
exactly what we've been talking about in the first section of this. It's like
sure, right,
tapping into those people who are tired of being, you know, the slave and who
hmm,
want to be creative. And, you know, if you think about that, what that commercial did, there was already discontent, right? People were kind of in the corporate slave kind of mentality, government, whatever.
yeah,
And the Mac was the access to potential power. Like the computer itself was the access, right?
right,
So, and
right,
then the hope was you can now go out and create your own thing because you've got this tool
hmm,
that will allow you to do that. Um, and of course, no marketer is really going to talk about the challenge. So
sure,
everybody
right,
stays kind of ignorant of the challenge. Because you don't follow up that with, oh, but you're going to have to go learn how to get clients. You're going to have to learn marketing. They don't say all that when they're selling the computer,
right,
because
right,
that would kill the movement. But
yeah,
that's a good example of the all four elements being, in one tight 30
hmm,
second spot.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. So let's see. The other thing I had, strong leader is what's needed in any type of mass movement. You
Yep.
need a strong leader capable of channeling the hatred towards a common enemy. And that's a pretty strong word, hatred, but because, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously used, hatred's used a lot in politics today, but just channeling that, you need someone that's a visionary and has a strong personality in order to really focus your energy on who that enemy is, whether it's in politics, whether it's in business, the old way of doing things that's really hindered you or hindered the movement in the past.
Um, yeah, and I agree. You've got to have somebody willing to point that out. And the enemy doesn't have to be a person. It could be an institution. It could be a way of
Mhm.
thinking. It could be
Bernie
anything.
Sanders, he created a movement, um, around people who are, you know, tired of, I guess, people getting away, the fat cats,
Yeah.
and the fat cats, the big banks, all of
Yep.
that stuff. He knew how to channel the younger crowd
Hmm.
into get them in a frenzy,
Yeah.
just over the um the lack of fairness,
Yeah.
now, so to speak, and get people on board his movement. And
And
you know,
same thing again. I think what was missing there was the extravagant hope. Like, I
yeah,
think that's important because the way he phrased this was extravagant hope, like not
hmm
just a little bit of hope that,
yeah,
because, because a lot of that, like from Bernie Sanders, would be like, the government will take care of you. Well, that's not what I would call
no,
extravagant hope.
no,
Like, that's kind
that's
of like,
just
okay.
getting by. Yeah, that's just taking care of your means, right? I
Yeah, it's
mean,
like, okay, I definitely don't like all this oppression or, you know, having to go to work and stuff, but I don't know if that's gonna be
sure,
enough, right?
yeah,
Am I willing to die for settling for DMV, the DMV taking care of me,
right.
you know? So, I think that's, again, what was missing in that one, um, kinda like the Occupy Wall Street, and I think that was true in Black Lives Matter as well.
hmm
I don't think they had a strong new future, and I think that was the
Yeah,
big difference between Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement of that time and the Black Lives Matter now. Is
hmm
Black Lives Matter, they have the anger, they have the discontent. Um, I'm not sure they've got a clear access to power other than maybe, you know, cancel culture, I guess, is the tool. But
well,
but I definitely don't see, and I haven't heard, and I'm not on the inside of that movement, so and I don't really know. If somebody wants to share with us what the hope is, but it seems like it's already started to die out, you know. Um,
well, yeah. I mean, they
Whereas Martin Luther
misappropriated
King,
money big time, and
yeah,
they've
so Martin Luther King Jr., he's like, I have a dream. And we've talked about this when we talked about Nancy Duarte and how she analyzed that speech. And it's like, this is where you are. This is the discontent. This is where you
yeah,
could be. This is the
right,
and it went back and forth
right,
between the discontent and the hope. And that's what I think a lot of marketing messages are missing. So if you're
mhm,
going to rub salt in the wound for to get people to want to buy your business, whether it's a health supplement
yeah,
or to buy your services, like, yeah, you want to talk about the pain and the trouble and the bleak future if they don't
mhm,
take action. But
right.
you've got to get into
A
the
vision,
hope and
yeah,
the vision and
hmm
this extravagant hope of what the future could be.
yeah. No,
And
I agree. You've got
and
to
a voice for that, to your
mhm.
point about the leader, having a character or a voice for that is important. And I think,
Charismatic. It really helps to have somebody with a charismatic personality
yeah,
that's doing that. You look at again. I wrote down some notes of people that kind of fit the bill. People that paint a picture. Again, Trump.
yeah,
Painted that picture. He had a strong personality, and he could channel everyone's hatred towards who? China.
yeah,
We're getting ripped off from China. It's
yeah,
like, that was everyone's common, obviously everyone's common enemy. Cause he would say, we're getting ripped off from China. They're taking our jobs. Um, then, we're, um, illegal immigration. That was another one another enemy that he would channel people's anger towards. So
right,
he was great at doing that, but also, as you said, for his base, building a hope of, a time where you're moving past all that. You
right.
know, we're more independent from China. We're not relying on them. We're not getting ripped off. We have a fair trade agreement with these other countries, right?
Yep.
Instead of getting ripped off by everyone, I'm gonna make things fair, for us,
Right.
and I'm gonna bring jobs back to America and all that stuff. People buy into that.
Hmm.
But you need a strong personality, a strong leader who can offer that to the masses and say, yeah,
Well,
sure enough.
another example, to make this about me again, is like,
Sure,
we're
why not?
we're coming off our fast and we're looking at, like, so what are we going to experiment with next? Like, because I'm an experimenter. I like to
Hmm
try things and
hmm
explore and things like that. So, we're going to do, in May, we're going to do the carnivore diet,
hmm Yeah.
you know, and so I start researching and kind of going into that and looking at that. And same thing, there are leaders of that movement because that's becoming a pretty big movement. I don't know if it would be considered a mass movement along the lines of what this
hmm
book talks about,
Yeah.
but it's definitely it's a growing movement, just like, veganism, Just like keto is a mass move. I would say keto is a mass movement now for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, it's everywhere, right? But it's lost. But and
CrossFit is a movement.
CrossFit
I mean,
was a movement. I don't think
yeah.
it. He talks, and I underline that, like, at some point when movements kind of get established, they lose their oomph
Yeah.
and they
Yeah. Yeah.
become like establishments,
Mm-hmm.
enterprises. And I think
Yeah.
CrossFit and keto both have kind of come to that point.
Sure.
But now there's some of these newer variations of that stuff. So anyway, the point is, I was looking at carnivore and I start looking, who are the influencers? Like, who's talking about this stuff? Who are the
Mm-hmm.
authors? Who are the doctors? And most of them that have risen to the top are these charismatic, fairly dogmatic guys that are like,
Mm-hmm.
nope, this is the way, which is not how I am at all. I'm more like, show me both sides. You know, I'll try this dogmatic approach for a little while, but then I'm going to probably figure out my way to temper it a little bit.
Right.
So, but yet, to your point, like the leaders there tend to be charismatic, um, very outspoken, have these great sick to health stories, like
Mm-hmm.
the whole bit. So the whole, they can sympathize with the discontent that you're in. The tool to power is the diet itself. The hope is you're going to feel better than you've ever felt.
Mm-hmm.
And the ignorance is you have no idea how hard this actually is.
Yeah, I know. It's like I told you, I'm going through. I think you got that book too. The new book by Tony Robbins on
Yeah. Life
uh,
Force.
Life Force.
Yeah.
Great book, by the way. Very interesting. Throws out a lot of stuff that I was not familiar with, but um, there's another person that's very charismatic that people buy into, and he's using obviously not his expertise in the health field, but he's bringing in experts like Peter. Uh,
Attila.
yeah, yeah, and what is it, Demondius or
Oh yeah, Peter Diamandis, Peter Attilia.
Diamandis?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's several of those Peters out there.
So there's obviously he's bringing he's the old way of doing things
Yeah.
is not work. He talks about, in the book, he builds the case, with and he uses
Well,
a lot of case studies in that
right, and you can
of
tell he's a marketer, right?
oh,
Compared to a lot
sure,
of other guys who
absolutely.
share the same
Yeah.
information,
Yeah.
because he does that. He's like, "This is where you're at now,
Hmm.
and once you learn all these things I'm going to share in this book, you
Yeah.
could have this life, and you could
Hmm.
live better, and you could live stronger.
Yeah.
Everybody, get up and jump around!"
Yeah, and you can picture it too. I mean,
Yeah,
not only does he, and he shares case studies of people who've
yeah,
cured everything
gotta have the
from
proof. Yeah,
cancerous tumors to all sorts of ailments, and that's obviously it's a great example. If you don't buy into the science behind it, it's a great marketing tool just to go through his book Life Force and realize this is how anybody could structure. This is how business, I mean, this is what a book should be doing. It's a marketing
yeah,
tool, right? And it's
absolutely.
directing them towards basically what are they doing? They're selling, ultimately they're selling the DNA testing in the book, and then the supplements, and then all of the other
Yeah,
things that they have that are available through their website at Life Force, which is not a bad thing. I mean, if the stuff works, it's great, but they've
right.
just found a way to
Yeah, it's a giant sales letter.
funnel.
That's what
Yeah,
it is, and
exactly.
but it's actually it's more content marketing, but it is a sales letter. But
It is.
it's more
Yeah.
content marketing, with the little things woven in. Oh, by the
Mhm.
way, we happen to sell this if you want it. You don't have to buy it, but if you want it,
Yeah.
we've
Well,
already
and that
we've
and that
vetted and
again
tested
goes
it and
back
all this
to
stuff.
yeah, that goes back to the simplicity. Remember
Yeah,
you said you were talking about the you don't want to give people you don't want to treat them to all of the or introduce all of the
yeah,
rigorous work of
right,
research that goes into figuring this out. So we're going to
right.
say, you know what? All you need to do is go here and you'll find everything you need.
Hmm.
So boom, easy. Um, that attracts a lot of people who just don't have the time or the energy to, look into all of that.
No,
They
but
just
you
want a
do
simple
need
fix.
the time and energy to go. What is this thing? 400 pages, 300 pages? Like,
It's an easy read.
yeah.
Easy read.
He likes those thick books though. All his
Oh,
books have
yeah.
just been. He's like
Well,
Tim Ferriss. Like they're all just
thump factor. What is
yeah.
it? We call that the in the
The
info
thud.
marketing industry, we call it the thump factor.
Yeah. When it hits your doorstep from Amazon, it's like boom.
Boom. Yep.
Oh, my
You
book's
drop
here.
that bad boy, it's gonna make some noise.
Yeah, my book's here. All right, what else you got?
Lastly, mass movements need people who can put their goals into words and
Mm,
leaders who can act on them.
yeah, so
So
we
you've
kind of
got to be able to, and I think what, one of the things I'm talking about here is when, talking about you got to have people who can put them into words, and they've got to be messages that resonate. And in this day and age, they got to be
memorable.
messages. Yeah, exactly. They ring. They're easy to
You
remember.
can't have a movement out there if everybody's saying three different, 4 or 5 different things,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
like we mentioned earlier, flatten the curve was easy to remember. And I will say
Mhm.
that's one thing the government is really good at.
Yep.
Like the names they put on these bills and stuff, like the Affordable Care Act.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
man, it's
Yeah.
brilliant. It's
Right.
like brilliant marketing, and they do. I mean, their acronym game at the U.S. government is strong.
Mhm. Oh, big time. Yeah.
Like, I mean, they nail the acronyms for
Yep.
the bills and the new laws that are getting passed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
The
crazy.
CARES Act, the
Yeah,
Affordable Care Act, the
yeah. And then, this is what great marketers do too. And Russell Brunson talks about this in his Secrets trilogy. Um, mainly the expert it was Expert Secret, the second book, I
Mhm.
think, where he talks about creating your own language, which is not new. We've talked about this with Blair Warren. We've talked
Mhm.
about this from a lot of other stuff. It's not new, but that's I think this falls under what the unifying agents kind of section
Yeah.
of the book. Yeah, there's a chapter section, whatever, called unifying agents.
Sure.
These are things that kind of bring people together, and vocabulary is absolutely one of those things. Having a common language,
Mhm.
you know,
Labeling is big time. I mean,
yeah.
that works. It's a very effective.
But you've got to
Um,
use the whole movement's got to be using the same labels
yes. Be
against the
consistent.
enemies to be
Mhm.
consistent to give it power.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just all scatter. I mean, what did God do when He wanted to scatter people? He changed the languages on
Change the
everybody,
language. Yeah.
right? It's the
Exactly.
old
Well,
tale.
I noticed the and it's effective when you're trying to when you're trying to undermine something too. So, Florida just passed a bill on, you know, on parental rights, with
Yeah,
what's being taught
schools.
in
Yeah,
classrooms. And so what does it get labeled as, where people on the other side who are against it say it's the don't say gay, which
right.
makes it seem like you're
Yeah,
not allowed to say the word gay, right?
yeah,
Don't say gay bill, right? And that's what
yeah.
they've labeled it as, where you're not allowed to say that. It's like
Right.
it's something, but it's not. Obviously, it's not like that at all. But but it's an effective way
Yeah.
of,
I mean, how quickly did that catch national attention?
yeah, don't say gay. All the media are talking,
Yeah.
don't say gay, the don't say gay bill. And always, I just remember Trump, whenever he was during his campaign, he was very powerful. And we talked about this in the past, how he labeled people,
Yeah.
what is it? Lying Ted. And then you had Sleepy, what was the guy's name?
We did
Jeb,
Sleepy. Yeah. It was a
Sleepy
I thought
Jeb,
you did Sleepy Joe too, but
Sleepy Joe. It was Low Energy Jeb was his for Jeb Bush. That was Low Energy Jeb. And it
yeah.
was like, it was effective. It's
Yeah.
kind of, once you hang those things on people.
Well, especially
So,
when you have a big stage, like a big platform, the
yep.
leader
Yep.
can instantly distribute that message, but it's got to be catchy. Like,
Yeah, it does. Yep.
it's got to be like nothing rhymes with deplorables, right? So it was harder for that to be catch on.
Yeah.
Now the other side caught it and wore it as a badge,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm a deplorable. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So it did kind of catch on, but it caught on in the
Hmm.
wrong way.
Hmm. Yep.
So because it
Yeah.
wasn't as catchy as some of the other.
Hillary's slogan at the time was "I'm with her," like
Yeah,
that terrible slogan,
yeah,
because it's all about you, right?
yep.
It's not about the movement or the vision.
And one person, although
Yeah,
Trump came close, but
yeah.
one person is not necessarily something you want to fight for. But like I
Mhm.
said, Trump came pretty close, or
Yeah,
maybe he did.
right.
Um, so I could be wrong about that.
Well, no, in terms of his
His
second
his
or
yeah, his following near the end of the second
oh,
run.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely
Exactly.
got a little. It
Yeah,
was more about Trump than it
caught
was
up in
about.
himself. Yeah, exactly, and I think that
It,
was detrimental.
yeah,
You've
it
got
became.
to
I mean, even the movement became about
Mhm.
Trump and not about it, the "Make America Great Again" kind of got lost in the
Yeah,
background, and
because
it
it was all
became
about
very
he I
Trump.
got yeah, exactly. Yep.
Like all the stickers were now Trump stickers, not
Mhm.
America stickers. They
Right,
were on flags and stuff, but
right.
you know.
Yep.
So I
Yeah,
think that's yeah.
you
Looking
gotta
back,
paint the hope and the vision of people out there in the in their language
yeah,
that's, it can be about you. It's gotta be about what their dreams and aspirations and what they're truly,
and it has to be
uh
bigger than any one person to
yeah.
in order to last and have some real
Mhm.
legs. You know,
Yep.
I don't think there was any. I don't know. I wasn't there in Hitler's time, but I don't think I think that was probably much more about this new Germany than it was
Mhm.
about Hitler himself.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they did hail Hitler and all that stuff, but it was definitely about a new Germany and things like that.
Sure.
So, I
Yep.
could be wrong. Feel free to send me hate mail on that. All right.
Here's the key. In all of this, whether you're lean to the left, you lean to the right, you're political or religious, all mass movements share the same characteristics. Under the right circumstances, it's possible for any of us to get hypnotized. And I mean,
Yes.
even if you're fully aware of this, you can at any time be hypnotized by a group mentality and become a true believer. It happens even
Yeah.
if you think you're above that. You're getting hypnotized.
And there are different sizes of mass movements, right? I mean, there's the big
Sure.
mass movements that shape cultures and all those kind of things. But they keep going down the chain,
Yeah.
and whether it's a small cult with 30 members, it's the same principles as a
Right.
big mass movement. It's just maybe it didn't get communicated as well and as widely. But the same basic ingredients are there for sure.
Well, and I think of from a business standpoint, I think the crypto movement, people in that industry have done a fantastic job in some of their marketing.
Yeah. But there's no
Of
clear leader right now. Like
no, there's
really,
not. Yeah, well, that's the thing. There's no clear leader, although there are some that
there's some experts and
there
things
are
like
some
that.
expert that rise above others,
Yeah.
that I tend to look at from time to time. But yeah, I mean, every time, regardless of what happens to whether Bitcoin's up or down or Ethereum, whatever is happening, it doesn't matter. The
Yeah.
vision is it's beyond just the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows, but it's more or less,
Well,
especially with
it's about decentralizing, you know,
absolutely right.
getting the powers that be, the old man, old gray power
Yep,
out of out of power and putting it back in the
exactly.
hands of the people. I mean, that's the
That's right.
big thing that's
Hmm.
driving the bigger
Yep,
than me thing that's driving crypto and
yep,
all that stuff.
yeah.
All right, you ready to move on?
Yeah, yeah, I think we beat that horse. It's a fascinating book. I'd
Yeah, it is.
recommend anybody to pick up a copy and
Yeah. You will need a
obviously
highlighter and something to take notes with,
yep.
because it's got a lot of good
Hmm.
stuff in it. So,
Yep.
all right,
All right, I'm anxious to see
I'm gonna do the letter
uh
first
okay, all right,
because I'm
do
gonna
the
make
letter
you wait a
first.
little bit longer. So I got this envelope in the mail. It's
All
a
right.
large, like 10 by 13, 9 by 11, something like that. So
Hmm.
it's a little bit bigger, an 8.5 by 11.
Okay.
And on the outside, it's from the Mayo Clinic Health Letter.
It's a really good copy on the
And it says, yeah, I thought the teaser copy, which you
teaser
don't
copy on
see
the
a lot
outside.
of these days. 3 surprising daytime habits that affect your sleep that night. So, sleep is a huge problem in America right now probably the world. I don't know.
Hmm.
But definitely it's a topic that's on a lot of people's minds.
Sure.
Sleep hygiene's big, like all kinds of stuff. So and I was thinking about it, it's like if it just said 3 daytime habits that affect your sleep that night,
Hmm.
I'm interested, but I'm not super interested, right? But
Yeah.
adding surprising, I'm like, oh, especially because I've done some research. I kind of know the big things you're supposed to do for sleep, right?
Mhm.
So when they add the word surprising, I'm like, oh, maybe I don't know these.
Yeah.
I better just check, just let me just open
No,
it.
it's a cure. Yeah, absolutely. I
Let me
want to
just
check.
make sure that I didn't miss something.
Even if you think you know everything,
Right.
there's always that possibility.
Yeah, there's a little bit. It's just putting that little seed of doubt in there that keeps you going. So I
Yeah.
opened the letter, and I got a traditional direct mail letter with lift note, order device, the
Hmm.
whole shebang, man. I was like, man, are we
Wow.
in 1990 again?
This is awesome.
So it's like on lined paper with the typewritten font.
It's like typewriter.
Yeah,
Isn't
typewriter
that typewriter
font.
font?
Yep. And then on the lift note, which is a giant post-it note, it's got the sort of, handwriting font on it on the Mayo Clinic
Mhm.
letterhead. It is a classic. Um, did you do that or did I do that?
I think you did that.
Sorry. Not sure how I did that. Oh, I see what I did. Um, and then the order device, got this. I mean, even down to the stickers. Take
Mhm.
the interactive device where you take the sticker off, put it on the commitment device.
Wow.
That increases
Commitment
conversion.
and consistency.
Yep.
You
And
put that stick.
it's an interactive thing, right? So
Yep.
you pull it off, you put it on. It's got an envelope with it.
Hmm.
Remember these things, these
Oh
envelopes?
yeah.
So no postage necessary. Like, so this is just like classic old school. And the letter is, just classic old school, what you would sell newspaper. And they're selling a newsletter subscription.
Hmm.
It's like $39 a year, which I will probably buy because the letter
Hmm.
was that good. So
Yeah,
so
that's
that was the
great.
Mayo Clinic, and I was like, I'm glad people are still doing that. I'm glad those are still out there. And I bet this thing, I'm going to try to do some research and find out more about it.
Hmm.
But I bet that does really well because I mean, I read the first page and a half, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well,
But
there
I'm
you
now
go.
the target market. Like, I don't know if I would have responded to that 10 years ago, right?
Well, yeah.
I would have as a copywriter just out of
But you didn't
curiosity,
get that 10 years ago. You got it
right?
when you're in
So
your
yeah,
50s, right?
that
I mean,
right
that's
after I turned 51, I
they
turned
know
50.
who
Yeah.
their target market is. I mean, message to market.
Yep. All right.
So,
Last thing, and we'll
all
wrap
right.
up. So I was online, got a Facebook ad for a challenge, Accelerate Your Revenue. I think challenge was the name of it. And I was like, that sounds cool. I'll check it out. It's a free 5-day challenge. I get on the page, register for the page, and then the next step in a free challenge is the way most people are doing them now is you have a VIP offer
Hmm.
is your first upsell.
Yeah.
Right. So the VIP offer wasn't much. It was 47 or 97. Can't remember which, 97, I think. And you get extra time with the host after the main challenge and things like that. And then they said we'll also send you little gift, a little gift box for the challenge. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, cool. So I signed up, and this shows up a couple days later. I'd already forgotten about it,
Hmm.
but check this out. Like, so this, for those of you listening on podcast, it's a solid black. It's about the size of a kid's shoebox, and it's got a bow on the front where it's tied.
Sure.
And so you just untie the bow, open it up, and remember, this is for a challenge, online challenge. And the challenge doesn't start till the 18th, which at first kind of annoyed me. I was like, well, can I just watch it now? It's like that's like 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
But it gives them time to do stuff like this. So inside this box was a card that says "Welcome VIP,"
Okay.
personalized on the back. Sean, are you ready to crush 6 and 7-figure days using virtual events? We'll see you at the VIP session. And then inside here there are 2 bags of pistachios. And it's all like,
Ooh.
show you it's like got the crinkly paper behind it and stuff.
Oh, popcorn.
It's got a bag of popcorn. and then it's got a little package. I wasn't sure what this was, but when I opened the package up, it's just a stand like to hold your iPad on, so you don't, you can just. I mean, it's not super incredible or anything, but it's kind of cool. It's like a little stand that you can set your iPad on. So if you're in the kitchen or you want to do stuff, because some of these
Okay.
challenges run a little bit long.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you've been on one, you'd be like, yeah, that'd be cool because now I can get away from my desk, maybe set my phone on it, whatever.
Mhm.
So I thought that was kind of a cool little trinket to give. And that's really all it is, but it's just another touch point,
Well,
and now
that's
give it
what
to us.
Dan Kennedy always refers to as he calls it the shock and all package.
Right.
Where and that's what's missing in businesses today.
Absolutely.
You need a shock and all package as part of your follow-up marketing.
Yep.
Obviously you're not sending this doesn't go out to everybody, but these go out to qualified
Yeah, it goes out to the
individuals.
buyers,
Mhm.
right? These are people that
Absolutely.
said, it went out to people who are like, not only do I want to attend longer, and
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay to do that.
Sure.
That's a pretty good prospect, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and then the other thing they've done, because they've had so much time between when they're selling tickets and the start of the challenge, they've been able to drip content to me,
Mhm.
and I watch a little here, watch a little. So now by the time I get to the challenge, I'm already familiar with the hosts.
Yeah.
And that having that familiarity makes it more
Absolutely.
comfortable,
It does.
makes it more believable, like
Mhm.
all that stuff, right? So by the time I get to the challenge, my guess is I'll probably have watched, 3-4 hours total of these little 15,
Mhm.
10, 20-minute videos. So I've spent, before I even get there, 3 or 4 hours, and I've gotten a gift from them. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like these people are friends now, right?
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
exactly what you want going into something like
Sure.
this.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was a really
Build that
cool.
familiarity. Yeah. I mean, and how expensive is that to create a package like that? I mean,
I
it
bet that's
costs them probably,
$12-15 maybe.
yeah,
I mean, if it costs
if that,
30, I mean, I
if
paid
that. I mean,
I paid
yeah.
97,
Mhm.
so they could spend all of that on a package if they wanted to,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. It's just
Um,
front end. Yeah, exactly. Because
just
they're making money off of
yeah, they know
the
they're gonna
long-term
convert,
value.
however many people.
Mhm.
So, you know, my VIP upgrade helps cover the ad cost in this box, and that's about it. Like, they're
Mhm.
not making any money off that.
Yeah.
I'm aware of that. And I wanted and also when I saw that, as the marketer, I was like, "Well, I wanna see what's in the box because,
Yeah.
I wanna
Yep.
know if I should be doing that." So, so that was my little funnel hack for the week, was to
That's cool.
join that and get the box. So, and I think the only miss they did is they didn't put like a social media card or something, um, where I could like do some user generated content and tag them like on an Instagram post or something like
Mhm.
that with the box. I
Yeah.
think that would have been next level if like inside the box top where I could hold it like that and smile big for
Mhm.
Instagram, had I had their logo or the name of the challenge or something like that on it,
Yeah.
I think that could have been that's probably a missed opportunity there.
Sure. Yeah.
So maybe I'll send them this podcast and let them know.
Well, I want to mention one last thing before closing. It kind of falls into this, creating the movement.
Yeah.
And it's based on an order that I made this week to, Go Ruck.
Mm,
So, we've talked about these guys in the past, which started out, and I think it's a brilliant example of how to creating that movement, like what we're talking about. So, what was the original intent of the Go Ruck movement? It's got to get people out, like,
yeah.
exercising, um, hiking, little day hiking, in
Yep.
groups around your community in your area. I thought it was a cool idea,
Right.
and that thing has just really exploded.
Yeah. It's a huge, I mean, for a company that's a great example of doing something bigger than yourself as a
Mhm.
company. Like they've created this, camaraderie, this exercise. It's it's about the rucking and some of the events and stuff. So they're an event company,
Mhm.
but they make their money on the gear because the gear's not cheap,
Absolutely.
because the gear's not
It's
cheap.
not cheap.
But if you're part
Uh,
of the movement,
yeah,
I think this might be where you're going. But if you're part of the movement, you want the gear that signifies you're part of the movement, right? It's like a
exactly.
badge. Like you don't
Yep.
want to show up with a Walmart backpack if you're going out to
No.
hang out with other guys that do
No,
rucking.
exactly. And it's usually, I mean, a lot of it's geared towards vets, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, former military guys. And
Yep.
so one of the things they got me, because I've followed them for a long time, follow their Facebook page, and they sent out the ad. So some of their new gear, it's really cool. I think you've ordered some of the plates in the past to put on your,
I have
put in the
3 pack
backpack
I
for,
have 3 packs,
yep.
multiple plates,
Well, I ordered a set of
shoes.
the boots this week.
Yeah, I've
They're
got the
awesome.
boots.
They're comfortable. They're a set of they're jungle boots. I don't know if you ever had a pair of jungle boots when you're
Yep.
back when you were in the army,
Yes.
but I used to love those things. And they've got their own set of and these are a whole lot more comfortable, but they look like the old school
Yep.
jungle boots. So I ordered a couple of these or a set of these bad boys. They're like the desert tan on the
Yeah.
side, kind of the tan instead of the green,
Yeah.
but they are super comfortable. So I'm going to pull up let me pull up the screen here just to give them a little shout out. Let's see, share.
Yeah, I bought the first boots they came out with a few years ago. And yeah, they're super comfortable.
Yes. Let's see.
If you can't get it, I'll pull it up.
There we go. All right. So that's their footwear.
Look at
These
you,
are the
man.
ones.
Tech wonder. Look at you.
I figured it out.
And on the producer's booth now.
So yeah, I mean, like you said, Sean, not cheap. What? I mean, they're not super
They're not
expensive for a
crazy. I
boot.
mean,
No, that's
I
not
was
super
talking to
expensive.
Tamara and Sydney about this last week. It's like it's pretty hard online to find shoes that are not $125. It seems
Oh
like
yeah.
everything's $125 now. It's crazy.
This is their newest edition, which I love. They're called the
That's cool.
Coyotes.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I love them. They're super comfortable, by the way.
So you wear those with like your black hiking pants or your
Yep. Yeah.
tan khaki colored.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, those are cool.
Perfect. Super comfortable for hiking.
Yeah, see, they didn't have when I ordered my boots, they didn't have the jungle style. They just had the full leather.
Right.
But yeah, they are comfortable. And I when I'm going heavy, like 50 pounds plus, I'll wear those because the cushion's better. But
yeah,
when I'm not, I just wear like the barefoot Merrells, like not the ones with the toes in them, but just the low profile shoe because that's just what I like to wear.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and it's true. Like if you're in that world, you do not want to show up to a ruck event with some no name pack. Like you want to have their gear. It's just right because you want to be part of the club.
And see, I mean, that's a cool thing about it, which falls in line with our topic today. They created the movement first before they started marketing the gear, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember it was around just getting out there and
because I remember in 2012, 13, somewhere in there, we were in Chattanooga, living in Chattanooga, and I was at the CrossFit, and a bunch of the guys were doing this weird thing overnight where they hiked overnight and they had and they all came into CrossFit into the box and they had their kids' backpacks or their own backpacks and they had bricks wrapped up in towel and duct taped in towels and like I was like, what are y'all doing? But it was one of the first like early Go Ruck events before they had gear and before they had the plates. And so you just wrap bricks in a towel, duct taped it, put it in the backpack.
Yeah.
And you went out and walked, So yeah, and now that, like you said, they did the movement first and the gear followed, because people were tearing up backpacks and they were, tearing up pants. And so they built stuff that was designed, military grade.
Yeah. It's amazing. You look at you go to their website and you can find it at GoRuck.com. and they have blossomed into, I don't know what their estimated worth is right now, but they're selling everything from shoes to the boots to the backpacks
T-shirts,
to
hats,
training gear,
yeah,
workout gear. I mean,
sandbags. Yeah.
sandbags, everything you need.
Yep.
But I think they started out building a following first.
Yep.
And once you build that following and you've got that people that buy into that.
Yeah, it started out as events mostly.
Yeah.
Like just
Yep.
get people out, kind of like a Spartan race, right?
Yep.
And those companies have done the same thing. Spartan is still more an event than it is gear, but they have added gear to their stuff. But not the way GoRuck has. I mean, GoRuck's
No.
got a whole new level of gear. So
Yeah, I mean, check this out, dude. This is a
you're not sharing anymore your screen.
oh. Let's see. You see this?
No, you're not sharing your screen.
Oh man.
You lost your producer rights.
I'm so bad at this.
Good at a lot of the other tech though.
There we go.
That
Is
me.
that you?
That's me.
That's you. Oh, okay. Yeah. So there you see the website, but if you go to the gear, I mean, go scroll down for a second since I'm so bad at this.
So there's all the rucksacks, equipments.
Yeah,
Footwear,
look at some of the prices on there.
Oh yeah, on the rucks.
Rucksacks.
Yeah, because that's the core thing, right?
Yeah.
So the Rucker is like probably the most popular one right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, these things are $250.
Yeah, easily
Bucks a piece.
Look at that.
On up to
what the markup on those things are.
Yeah, I have two of these, and then I have the GR1. Actually, somebody gave me because they saw that I rocked on social media, so somebody sent me one, which was really nice. It's a nice little gift. So thank you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, the other rucksacks, like the original, like the GR1s, these things are $335 for a backpack, and they are durable for sure.
Oh, I'm sure. But look at that. I mean, look at the Gorilla X.
Yeah,
$525 for a backpack.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
Incredible.
And half. I mean, look, it's sold out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of the times I've gone on here, sold out. But what is nice, they give very generous military discounts.
Sure.
So if you have to go through like the Gov ID or whatever, verifying thing.
Dang it. I didn't use that on my boots. I'm just like,
I was like, yeah, it's like a 20% discount. It's pretty big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, they definitely, like you said, they're into, sandbags, which are crazy expensive. So I think sandbags, I mean, I don't know, for some reason I have a price block around sandbags compared to rucks, but I don't know. It's
a bag with
it's $140 duffel bag, right? Well, the sand doesn't even come with it. Like you got to go find your own sand. So,
oh man,
it's basically a duffel bag that you would get it,
But they've created. I mean, listen, that just goes to show they've created a way to high margin, to leverage. They've leveraged a brand around things, and they can automatically create high margin products because they first built the movement around it,
right?
And the following, and it goes to. And I'm trying to remember like the original movement was like get out. I mean, what do you remember that, Sean? Like,
I mean, it's
thinking about to our book, our book on True Believer.
This has been their sole thing. This has been their core philosophy from day one.
Just get out and
rucking is just walking with weight on your back. It's that simple. Walking with a weighted rucksack is an amazing way to build muscle, burn calories. It's 3 times easier on your knees. They've been saying that for years. And it does sometimes say, grab a buddy or something like that. But yeah, now they have membership areas, training programs, and each one of these are, monthly fee.
So it's just, they've turned it into an amazing.
Yeah. And there's this was, I think was something really good that they kind of let go of like corporate control is that they have the GoRuck clubs that are independently run.
Yeah.
And every city in the country just about probably has one.
Sure.
Some have several if it's a bigger city. Knoxville has one. We did a bunch of events together in Knoxville.
Yeah.
I think in the summer, every other week, we'd meet at the beer garden in Bearden.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And we
yeah.
would ruck, 10 miles, start there, have a beer, go ruck 10 miles, come back, have another beer, go home. And that we would have 8 to 15 people
Sure.
every time, and that was 100% like, community led.
Mhm.
It's nothing that Go Ruck had to do themselves.
Yeah.
They didn't set up the Facebook group, nothing. You can just set up your own Go Ruck club, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because people are searching for it. They want to know who else is rucking. Because it's kind of a weird thing for a lot of people, right? It's not walking with the mall ladies. It's not running.
Mm.
It's walking with a backpack that's full of weight. Like, it's kind of weird,
It is.
for most people.
But if you're former, if you
But once you're
you've
in
been
that world, you're like, I want other
yeah,
people that know about this,
right,
and
right.
you go looking for them. So
Hmm.
Tamara's now into it; she loves it.
Yeah,
And I will never run again.
yeah,
I will definitely ruck. So,
right.
so yeah,
Well, as you get older, that's what I mean, your knees aren't
yeah.
like they
I will
used to be.
sprint. I'll do some sprints and stuff, but I won't like
Sure.
jog,
Right,
run type
right,
stuff.
right.
I don't think it's that effective I mean, I think it's effective. I just think it's
Yeah, yeah.
wear and tear is not worth it.
Oh, yeah,
Result.
yeah. There's a lot of studies on the longevity of doing that on your knees and
Yeah.
what the effects are. But
So
again, this is a great case study on just how to build, how to create that movement in terms of a business. And I would look at this anytime to, look at what you're wanting to create. If you're wanting to create a national movement around your business, look at something like this
yeah.
and how they started in local communities, building that movement
Mm-hmm.
and that enthusiasm around, something that really they weren't selling products at the time. They were just
Yeah.
saying, this is what we're doing. We're getting out and, this is a good cause. Get out and just great way to exercise. If you can't run, or if you don't have that, for people that can't, don't want to do the damage to their knees, is a great way to do it without just simply walking. Put a little weight on, you'll burn more calories. So,
Yep. All right.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode. To all of our listeners, you can find us as always at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms, Stitcher Radio, iHeart, Spotify, you name it. You can email us over at persuasionbythepint@gmail.com. You can also visit our Facebook group at Persuasion by the Pint. And Sean, it's been fun, man. Good topic. And I think we've got I think we definitely have a guest or two next week.
Okay.
So we'll be back in having some visitors on. It's been a little shallow lately, just because I don't know. It's the quality on Harrow has definitely gone down.
Yeah. Maybe it's spring break. Everybody's on vacation or something.
It could be. It could be. All right. Well, take care. Hope everyone has a great weekend. We'll see you next time.
See ya.